Welcome back, MTN Giants podcast. The Giants lose a very winnable game against the Cowboys on Thursday in Week 4. They drop to 1-3. Cowboys win 20-15. The Giants cover the spread. That's one positive. Not that it really matters. The Giants could not get in the end zone the entire night. Really, neither teams could. The only touchdown was the long CeeDee Lamb. Actually, there were two. The Rico Dowdle one that was called for holding at first, and then the refs took the flag back. Some very sus officiating in the first quarter, I will say. So that was a touchdown as well. But there was also, of course, the big 55-yard touchdown for CeeDee Lamb, where Deonte Banks, once again, Amari Cooper tore him apart last week in Cleveland. I was hoping things would look better this week. Turns out that was not the case. I mean, aside from that one catch, Lamb didn't really go too crazy. He was 7 for 98 on the day, and you take away that one catch for 55 yards, and it's not that great of a day for CeeDee Lamb. But still, that's a massive play in a low-scoring game like this. There's a lot of reasons the Giants lost this game, but that's one right there. And it didn't look like Banks was giving full effort after CD caught that ball, which is frustrating. It's like, can you please sprint and try and tackle him? So that was annoying. And Tyler Nubin, the rookie, second rounder, took a bad angle to it. Kind of just is what it is, but that was just a bad situation. Good read by Dak. The Giants had like this too high look. The safety on the right side came down. It was one-on-one on the outside with Lamb, and Nubin was playing the middle of the field. Dak gave CD the one-on-one shot, and he was able to catch it, cut back in, and went all the way. So that was pretty much the game right there. The Giants got lucky enough that Brandon Aubrey missed a field goal with 32 seconds to go. They tried to get a touchdown at the end. And there was a play, it was the second incompletion. I think that was the first one, the first incompletion to Wandale, where Malik Hooker went for the interception. There was a chance that if Wandale had came up with that ball, that he might still be running. Like, there was a chance, and I think it was Kirk Herbstreit, the other commentator next to Al Michaels, he said it could have been the MetLife miracle or something like that, and it was kind of close. The replays showed the ball hit off of Wandale's fingertips, so, once again, it would have been a miracle, but just a frustrating thing that happened there. I'll definitely go over my game notes in my phone in a bit, but I kind of just want to talk about the game off the top. Another big reason they lost this game was because of the drops. So the Daniel Jones discourse will be very interesting over the next couple days, because you're definitely going to have some people say that Jones played amazing and tremendous and use adjectives like that, which I wouldn't describe his game like that. I thought Jones played a pretty good game, but there were big misses. Of course, the one glaring one that comes to mind was when they did the hard count 3 times in a row. They got Lawrence or Parsons, one of them, to jump off sides, a free play, and Slayton had his man beat by probably 2-3 steps, and Jones just underthrows him, and that should have been a touchdown. That's your touchdown right there. We're sitting here wondering, why the hell didn't the Giants get in the end zone? Well, there's one right there. That's definitely should have been a touchdown. There was one later to Slayton where he had a step once again, and Jones threw it inside and short, tried to come back for it, ball fell incomplete. So it was annoying. There was the one where he went deep for Neighbors, and the ball just hung up there forever. Neighbors was in double coverage, and I think Hooker got over there. Diggs and Neighbors were kind of laughing on the way back. I could only imagine what they were saying about that throw. So that was the bad part about Daniel Jones' game today. But in fairness to him, and of course I do like to bash him because a lot of times he plays like crap, but in this game, the receivers definitely let him down. I have to be honest. I mean, the Wandale drop on the final third down the Giants had, I want to look at the exact situation. So it was a 3rd down and 6, and I think it was Jordan Lewis in coverage, and he dove and tried to hit the ball. Replay showed that he didn't hit the ball, and it was just a straight-up drop by Wan'Dale Robinson, who has been sure-handed this year, so I don't want to I don't want to be too harsh to Wan'Dale. He's been good this year, but that was a big drop, and if he catches that, Wan'Dale probably turns upfield for a bit and gets like a 15-yard gain, and the Giants are in Dallas territory with a chance to go down and score a touchdown. Then, of course, on that next 4th and 6 play, they go for it, which was the right move. 3 minutes, 30 seconds to go on your own 45, 6 yards to go to get the first down. Jones rolls to his left, buys as much time as possible, and gives Neighbors, I would say, the best throw possible. Once again, credit to Jones for putting that ball in a place where only his guy can get it. It looked like Neighbors had it based on the broadcast view because we couldn't see because the camera was behind Neighbors, and I'm sitting here like, holy crap, he just caught that. And then, of course, the ball popped out. And it looked like Neighbors might have got knocked out for a bit, or he got his wind knocked out. He does have a concussion, so he left after that play, did not come back for that final drive, the final 3 plays or whatever. Luckily, there is 10 days to rest and get better. A lot of guys, ever since those new concussion rules, since the whole Tua thing happened, a lot of players miss the following week after a concussion, but I'm hoping that with the 3 extra days of rest, that Malik Neighbors can pass the protocol and be there at Seattle in week 5. But once again, Neighbors for the most part was tremendous tonight. Of course, he had a bunch of targets. He had 15 targets that led the game, 12 receptions, 115 yards. Even Wan'Dale Robinson, only one less, 14 targets for Wan'Dale. The target share that those two have right now is insane. It's like a monopoly. I mean, Neighbors and Robinson seem like the only guys getting thrown to. Slayton had his chances. Slayton had that one nice catch for 28 yards, but for the most part, it was pretty much just Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson. They had 29 targets combined. It's pretty insane. So 29 targets on Daniel Jones's 40 attempts went to those two players, and I don't blame him. If I was Daniel Jones, I'd probably do the same thing. One part about this game that was really confusing, and I did see a graphic about it. I took a picture of it, put it on Twitter. The Cowboys' run defense, and we went over this yesterday in the game preview, the Cowboys' run defense was god-awful. They were like ranked 31st in yards allowed per game on the ground and some other bad stats. We saw Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara absolutely destroy them on the ground. So against New Orleans and Baltimore, those two teams combined for 464 rushing yards in 2 games and 7 rushing touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty insane to look at. 5.5 yards per carry, 15 runs of 10 yards or more. Tonight versus the Cowboys, now once again, 464 yards allowed in 2 games on the ground. The Giants tonight only had 26 yards on the ground, of course, no rushing touchdowns, 1.1 yards per carry, and of course, no rushes over 10 yards. So, I don't know what Baltimore did and what the Saints did that was so great. I know Derrick Henry is like a man among boys, and he had that great stiff arm last week. But the Ravens' offensive line is not that great. It's not what it used to be. The Saints, I know McCoy's injured now, so at the time the Saints were healthy and their offensive line was playing great, so I guess their line was great. But still, the Giants' line, for the most part, has not been that bad this year. Their run blocking tonight was not great. Could have been better. There were definitely some yards left on the field. I posted that one Devin Singletary run. It was that one he fumbled on, and it was like the second quarter. It was early in the game, and it looked like Singletary, he did bounce it eventually, but it looked like there was an easy chance to pick up at least 10 yards on that run, and it looked like he was just second-guessing himself and just had cement in his shoes. It was just a really weird play, and he almost lost the ball for the 3rd game in a row, and that was, kind of a weird replay, because a lot of times you can tell from replay, especially when it's not like a giant pile like that. Sometimes you see a giant pile of, 10 dudes and you can't see the ball. But in a situation like that, the tackle was made out by the numbers. It was clearly like the ball was moving, but it was like he didn't lose possession either. It was very weird. So the ball did move, but he did go down with possession of it. Sometimes we don't know, because I always go back to that play, and they talked about this in Curb Your Enthusiasm. If you're a Larry David fan, they brought up that play with Austin Seferian-Jenkins against the Patriots back in, I think, 2017, 2018, where the ball got like knocked away for a second, and Seferian-Jenkins got across the goal line with possession. They called a fumble and a touchback, and the Patriots got the ball. No touchdown for the Jets. So it's things like that where it's like, all right, well, this was called one way back then, but it's called differently this time. It's not exactly the same play, but there's just so much with the NFL. It's like, I don't know what's a catch. I don't know what's a fumble sometimes. I don't know. And speaking of the refs, I don't want to get too much into officiating, because the Giants did enough themselves to lose this game. But that whole first quarter, I think it was the first drive, yeah, the Bellinger face mask, where clearly it was the Cowboy player who held the face mask, and for somehow, with all these officials, I think there's 7 officials on the field, all the officials, and I think they have guys in the booth too, somehow everybody misses this, and that call, the 15-yard face mask, should have went against the Cowboys, but of course, somehow it gets called against the Giants. And then, of course, like right after, there was that Rico Dowdle screenplay I talked about, where if you're a Giants fan, you're like, nice, 10-yard loss, touchdowns off the board, and then 10 seconds later, the ref comes out, oh, there's no penalty. Touchdown Dallas. And you're like, what is going on here? Like, we get screwed on this face mask call, and then Dowdle scores, they throw a flag, you're thinking, all right, clearly holding on the screen pass, and they take it back. It's like, what's going on here? So those things were annoying. I think we covered most of the broad subjects I wanted to get to. Dak Prescott was surgical for a couple drives, especially in the first half. He had that one drive, I think it was the one that ended with the Rico Dowdle touchdown. Like, Dak was 8 for 9 that drive and was just throwing dots. He had that great pass to Cooks on the slant. He had that one, the CD on the slant, where he just had to just jam it in. Like, there was no room for that throw. It kind of reminded me of the Justin Jefferson touchdown week 1, where Deonte Banks had good coverage, but Darnold and Jefferson just made a better play. And as I said, the Daniel Jones discussion will always be interesting no matter what. You know, he could throw for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, or throw 4 interceptions. The Jones discussion's always interesting, but there is so much nuance to this performance individually, where I feel like you can make an argument that he played a great game, but you can also make an argument that he sucked. And the same thing kind of happened the previous 2 weeks as well. I didn't bring that up much on this channel the past couple of games because I don't want to get into what people are talking about on Twitter and whatnot, but like, I feel like I saw people saying Jones was tremendous last week and some people saying he sucked. It's like, it's kind of funny. We brought up how he couldn't complete a deep ball, which is definitely an issue. And I do feel bad for Brian Dable. And Dable, by the way, called a great game. Same thing for Shane Bowen on defense. But Dable was really good. And they did put up the next-gen stats chart. I was looking for this. So Jones on passes that went 20-plus yards, it looks like he completed 1. But there were 6 attempts. I'll be nice and take out that last one to Hyatt because it was like a last-second heave, and, you know, I'm not going to count that. Even if you take away the Hyatt interception play on the final play, he was still 1 for 5 on deep balls. And this happened even last week, too, against the Browns. I'll go look at his chart last week in Cleveland. So on passes that were 20-plus yards last week, he was 1 for 4. It's like, it's not good enough, you know? And I think the one he threw for over 20 yards was that one that Emerson definitely could have intercepted, but Neighbors just, you know, made a big boy play and just stole it from him. So the Daniel Jones deep passing has not been great. It reminds me, and it's sad to say, I mean, I guess it makes sense because Jones also had a neck injury. I don't know if it's the same thing, but it reminds me a lot of Peyton Manning, the first season in Denver, coming off that neck surgery. I remember a report coming out around that time that Peyton had issues throwing deep, going to his left, I think, or his right, one or the other. So as he was recovering from that neck surgery, he had a tough time throwing a deep ball to one side of the field. It's been a both side of the field thing for Jones, but like, is there some correlation there? I don't know. Jones has never been that great of a deep ball thrower. There was that one year, I think it was 2020, where his deep ball stats were good, but he also didn't even throw that many attempts, so it was a small sample size. Like, I remember looking at those stats, and he threw like a third of the amount, or even a quarter of the amount of guys like Russell Wilson and Tom Brady and whoever else was up there on top. So, yeah, I mean, look, the Jones deep ball has never been elite by any means, but this is just bad. You know, it's like looking at the attempts of 20-plus yards, and there's really not many completions. Even in week 2, I'm looking at week 2 right now, it looks like Jones was 0 for 4 in week 2 on deep ball attempts. And I mentioned last week, he was 1 for 4. And then this game, he was 1 for 5. So you put all that together, I'm trying to do the math in my head right now, it's like, was he 1 for 13 or something? Like something like that? Like, it's terrible. I'm not saying you have to complete 80% of your deep ball attempts over 20 yards, but to go 1 for 13 or 1 for 14, whatever the hell the math is, that's terrible. Like, you can't have that. So, as I said, there will be people that say Jones played great and people that say Jones sucked, and I definitely see both sides of it. I for me, like, I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth here. I can admit that the receivers let him down, especially that Wan'Dale drop, the Slayton drop, where some people once again are saying it could have been a better ball, but Slayton had it in both hands. His arms could have stretched further, so I think that's just a clear drop. It was a tough catch. Like, he's laying out, diving, trying to catch it, but I think Jones put that in a good spot. So it wasn't like the worst drop in the world. And then the Neighbors play on the last one where it's like, all right, you got a concussion. I understand the ball getting knocked out, but Jones also put that ball in a great spot. And then on the other side of it, people can also say, well, buddy, if you hit one of those deep balls, we might have scored a touchdown and probably win the game. I mean, I see both sides of it, so I don't want to sit here and say, oh, he sucked tonight, or oh, he was amazing and flawless. I don't want to say any of that. Like, there's definitely a nuance to it tonight, and that's just the truth. All right, note section time, where I do this every week and go over some of the big plays. And during primetime games, because I'll admit, during 1 o'clock games, especially when so much is going on, like, I always put the Giants on my laptop, volume up, but I also have Red Zone on in the background, so I'm trying to listen to Scott Hansen and the Giants game, so once in a while I'll miss some shit. But, like, when the Giants are the island game and a primetime game, like, I am looking at every single play very closely, getting all the replays and whatnot, so more notes than usual is what I'm getting at here. There was a great run stop by Nick McLeod on the first drive for the Cowboys. I remember Nick McLeod was getting blocked on this play, and he basically tackled him with one arm. It was pretty impressive. The defense did force a 3-and-out on the first drive. That was big. I think starting out this game hot was a big thing for the Giants, and they somewhat did. There was the third down play for the Giants on their first drive where Neighbors got wide-ass open, and he made Andrew Booth, who's like their third or fourth corner. And there was a point in this game, by the way, we'll get to the Diggs injury, where he wasn't injured, but he had a dehydration. But he was out this game for like a drive. So the Cowboys were down to like practice squad corners. It was crazy. So anyway, Neighbors ran that amazing, I think they call it a sluggo route, a slant and a go. It's kind of like the play Plaxico Burress scored on, except, you know, that was in the red zone. But still, it was an amazing route. Booth was touching the earth. It was an ankle breaker. It was everything you wanted to see there from your first round wide receiver. Of course, the Bellinger play, the face mask, which should not have been called once again, on the Giants at least, that made it 2nd and 18, and that eventually led to a Greg Joseph 52-yard field goal. Now, Dable did kick a field goal on 4th and 4. There was a Dable call for a field goal later in this game where I was not happy about it. This one I kind of understood. Now, part of me thought they would go for it because I didn't know their confidence level in Greg Joseph, who of course missed one from a shorter distance last week, and it was a 48-yarder in Cleveland. This time a 52-yarder, and they send him out there and he makes it, so, you know, can't really use the hindsight excuse there. But at the same time, 4 yards to go, you're in Cowboy territory. I figured they would go for it, but they didn't. So that is what it is. So this next drive was the eventual Rico Dowdle touchdown. And on this drive, the Cowboys had a 1st and 20. Jalen Tolbert had back-to-back penalties, one on the kickoff and then one on the offensive pass interference where he was blocking before Deuce Vaughn caught the ball. There was a play Dak made to the fullback Hunter Lupke, I think it is. Dak had to run around the pocket and buy time, made a good throw to his fullback. The Brandon Cooks third down slant, it was a perfect throw once again. Tyler Guyton had a hold to make it a 2nd and goal from the 15, but right after that, Rico Dowdle had the screen for a touchdown. I wrote my notes section, the penalty takes it away. Then I put, never mind, they picked up the flag in all caps. So 7-3 Dallas after that. On the Giants drive, Wan'Dale picked up a 3rd and 3. Wan'Dale was good on 3rd down tonight, except for that one big one in the 4th quarter once again. Neighbors had an end-around play where he was made the quarterback. And I guess as a receiver, you're not going to know this. And I saw Daniel Jones do this so much in 2023 and 2022, where instead of just throwing the ball out of bounds when you're running towards the sideline and just, you know, having no yards lost, he just runs out of bounds and loses like 3 or 4 yards when he didn't need to. Malik Neighbors, as a wide receiver, probably didn't know, and he ran out of bounds for a 4-yard loss. Right after that, Jones missed Slayton on the hard count. That could have been a touchdown, of course, with a better throw. There was a 3rd and 9 where Wan'Dale was against Eric Hendricks, made him miss a tackle, picked up the 1st down. Tyrone Tracy had a near touchdown. It was an illegal shift, so that would not have counted anyway. But Jones once again made a pretty bad throw on that play. It wasn't the deepest of throws, but it was still a throw where if he leads Tyrone Tracy, it might be a touchdown. And instead, Tracy only got 1 foot in, so even if there was no illegal shift, that catch would not have counted. It was a frustrating drive, but the Giants kick a field goal once again. They were down 7-6 at that point. Second quarter, the Cowboys had that halfback dive with the fullback loop key once again. 4th and inches. It looked like Kayvon had a shot at him. He might have picked it up anyway, but Kayvon missed the tackle, and Lupke picked up a few extra yards for a first down. Right after that, CeeDee Lamb has the 55-yard touchdown. We went over that already. Man defense. You had 1 single high safety with the other safety blitzing. Once again, good job by Dak Prescott to know what the hell's going on. Give your wide receiver 1 a shot. Deonte Banks, for the life of him, cannot locate a football in the air. It's very frustrating. And Tyler Nubin took a shit angle, and that's a touchdown. They also got CeeDee Lamb for excessive celebration or taunting. Very soft call. I don't mind it because it's, it favors the Giants, but I'm like, what the hell is this league turning into? That was just crazy. Next drive for the Giants, Singletary had that near fumble. Dallas challenges, it's unsuccessful. Malik had a first down on 3rd and 8. The Giants had a 4th and inches play. They went for it. This was the play where it looked like the play was blown up. It was a halfback dive. Singletary was met in the backfield right as he touched the ball, did a nice spin move, got out of it, and picked up a first down. So I gave Singletary crap for his awful run on the previous drive where he almost fumbled and was moving in slow motion. This was a great play. This saved a potential disastrous situation for the Giants. So he picked up that first down. This was that long drive. It was 14 or 15 plays. It ends with a field goal once again. Illuminor at right tackle got beat by Micah Parsons on a bull rush very badly, and that made it a 14-9 Dallas lead. And right before halftime, this was big. Kayvon Thibodeau had a sack. It's not only big because we want to see Kayvon play well, but it's big because that was the first sack the Giants had against Dallas in 4.5 games. I still could not believe that stat when I was reading it, but yes, first time. I saw a tweet. It was the first time since the Joe Judge era that the Giants sacked Dak Prescott. Sad. Really makes you think. But yeah, they finally beat that streak. Dak had a free play at that one point right before halftime. For some reason, Tyler Guyton at left tackle on the free play decides to hold Kayvon, so it negates the free play. I don't know what the hell was going through that kid's mind today. They were in field goal range, too. They completed that pass to Tolbert, but it was offsetting penalties. Play didn't count, so that was a good break for the Giants there. Out of halftime, almost a disaster situation once again. Tyrone Tracy fumbles. The Giants get lucky again. It just goes right into Chris Manhertz's chest. It was a weird play. Like, Tracy fumbles the opening kickoff, and the ball just goes right into his chest like a pass. It was just a really lucky situation there for the Giants, so they get away with one there. There was a 2nd and 13 to Slayton over the middle where Daniel Jones, and I had to write this down because he went through his progressions. It was very impressive. A lot of times with Daniel Jones, you'll see him just take the first thing that's open, and he had a shot at Malik Neighbors on a drag route. But Jones actually looked to the right. He then looked at the drag route to Malik, then looked over the middle to Slayton, who picked up the first down. I was like, holy crap, Daniel Jones went through 3 reads right there? Like, that's crazy. So that was good to see. I know it's year 6 and this shit should have been figured out by now, but at least, it's better than nothing. There was the delayed screen pass to Tyrone Tracy for 19 yards. Then the Giants got very close to scoring, and it was Overshown. I forget his first name. It's a confusing first name. DeMarvion Overshown. I don't know if I pronounced that right, DeMarvion, but yeah, he had a touchdown-saving tackle. It was that swing pass to Wan'Dale on the left side. You saw Neighbors pointing, like, throw him the ball. They were kind of somewhat doubling Neighbors, and they gave Wan'Dale a shot. If he made Overshown miss, that would have been a touchdown. The Giants could have won the game off of that, but Overshown made eventually would be a game-saving tackle, so good play by him. This was the one, 4th and goal from the 3-yard line. And they settled for a field goal to make it 14-12. So it was 14-9. In that situation, I saw some of the analytics people, they posted that the Giants should have went for that. I think in most cases it makes sense to go for that. You're 3 yards away from the end zone. You're down by 5 points. Field goals are good sometimes, but with how Dallas's offense was looking at that point, It almost just made no sense to me. It's like, you're not going to beat them by kicking field goals. And ultimately, at the end, that's what happened. Now, the Giants defense from this point on, they put the clamps on and played much better. But at that time, it's like, our defense can't get stops. You're 3 yards away from or you're 3 yards away from 7 points instead of 3. Why not take the shot? And even if you don't get it, Dallas has to go 97 yards, to get a touchdown. So to me, it just made a lot of sense. I thought Brian Daboll called hell of a game tonight, but that decision on 4th down, was not a fan of it. I would have rather have went for it, make Dallas go 97 yards. Unfortunately, they go for 3, and in the end, it kind of cost them. Next Cowboys drive, the Giants forced a 4th and 1, but Guyton was holding again on Kayvon. So Kayvon only had 1 sack tonight in the stat sheet, but he also forced a couple of holding penalties, so he was great. And Kayvon also had a play later in this game where Dak was looking for CeeDee Lamb on that drag route. He was covered by Okereke, but Kayvon was coming off the right tackle, got right in Dak's face, and I think it forced him to make that inaccurate throw. So Kayvon, who for the most part has been pretty underwhelming this year, I thought he looked great tonight, so I got to give him a shout out. Anyway, there was a 3rd and 11 on that drive on the Giants' 42-yard line, so they're getting close to field goal range, and Cordell Flott caused that incompletion it was intended for Cooks. And I remember hearing that Cooks had a lot of targets in this game. Only 4, actually. So, no, I guess I heard that wrong. But, yeah, 4 targets for Cooks, only 1 catch for 16 yards. It was that slant early in the first quarter. But they did a good job on him. Didn't really allow Brandon Cooks. I know he's like 31, 32 now, but still, to allow Cooks to have 1 catch for 16 yards, I mean, you'll take that. Of course, Aubrey made a 60-yard field goal to make it 17-12. The next Giants drive got blown up. Marshawn Kneeland made a good play on Daniel Jones, a read option, where Daniel Jones definitely should have handed that off to the back. He kept it, and Kneeland just wrapped him up in the backfield for a 5-yard loss. That pretty much ended that drive. Next Cowboys drive, they had holding on 2 men. I remember this play. So they had holding on 2 guys. Next play, Brian Burns blows up that run play. They're near the end zone. It was like the crowd was getting hyped up. Made it a 2nd and 20. That drive was a 3 and out. Then there was that good punt return by Smith Marset, who brought it down to about the 50-yard line. It was like the 48 technically, but a good punt return. Put the Giants in good position once again. 4th quarter now, Singletary had that run, which would have made it a 1st down, but Manhertz was called for blocking. Chris Manhertz, or called for holding, not called for blocking. That would not make sense. Called for holding, made it a 2nd and 12. Jones underthrew Slayton again. That was that one that was short and to the inside, so they had that shot for Slayton once again. Did not complete. On that 3rd and long, Wandale picked up enough to go for it on 4th and 3 on Dallas's 45-yard line. They went for it, thank God. Good call by Daboll. Next play, Malik Neighbors runs that slant on Diggs, picks up the 1st down. Play after that, Neighbors has a 17-yard gain over the middle. Diggs leaves the game with dehydration shortly after that. Then we had that play on that comeback on the right side where Slayton dropped, quote-unquote, that pass from Jones. It's kind of up to you how you look at it. I looked at it as a drop. It wasn't the worst drop in the world. I've seen worse. I've definitely seen worse, but one of those plays where it's in both your hands. It's a big 3rd and long. If he catches it, it's a 1st down. The Giants are looking to score a touchdown. Unfortunately, could not come up with it. The Giants settle for a field goal again. Next Dallas drive, there was the Flott forced an incompletion on Cooks. And I remember I went to Twitter and said Flott's playing hell of a game or something like that. The next play, Flott lets up a completion for a 1st down to Jalen Tolbert. So I might have jinxed that there. I felt bad, but still, that was kind of a funny sequence. 3rd and 7, I mentioned this play a couple minutes ago, but Kayvon got in Dak's face. Incompletion to CeeDee Lamb. Aubrey made a 40-yard field goal to make it 20-15 Dallas. That was eventually the final score. Giants next drive, this was the big one. 4th and 1 from their own 39. They go for it. That's the right move. Singletary just got enough on that 4th down. It kind of reminded me of Super Bowl 42 when the Giants had a similar situation. They ran the I formation with Brandon Jacobs, and he had like that last effort to get the 1st down. I'm sure some of you know what I'm talking about. It was kind of like that in a way, just obviously not the same circumstances, but it just brought me back to that for some reason. Tracy had a run play blown up by Micah Parsons. This was a bad look for Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas, you don't see an offensive lineman whiff on a defender too often, especially on a running play. That was very odd. But Andrew Thomas completely whiffed on Micah Parsons, who got around and blew up the running play. Then there was the big Wan'Dale drop. Once again, it was a good throw. It was really similar to what happened to the Browns last week, and it's kind of like weird because the Browns would have had a first down on that Cedric Tillman play, and Deshaun Watson made maybe 2 good throws the entire game. That was one of them, and Tillman had it, and he dropped it, and that ended the game. And it happened in reverse to the Giants this time. It was very weird. So it was a similar situation, and Wan'Dale had it. It would have picked up a first down. Didn't catch it. It forced the Giants to go for it on 4th down. Jones, to his credit, extends the next play, throws it down the left sideline to Neighbors. Unfortunately, wasn't complete. And I'm sure some Cowboys fans had flashbacks. It wasn't as good. Like, this is one of the best throws I've ever seen. But that play where Aaron Rodgers, when he was on the Packers, spun out to his left and threw that ball across his body to Jared Cook for that first down catch, which I think sent the Packers to the NFC Championship game in 2016. It was kind of like that play in a way, just obviously not the same. Once again, not the same circumstances, but Rodgers' throw was definitely one of the best I've ever seen in that situation. But I'm sure Cowboys fans had some flashbacks to like, oh my God, receiver on the left sideline, quarterback rolling to his left, like this is not good. So Neighbors almost had it. Unfortunate drop, got a concussion, so is what it is. Hopefully he's good to go next week once again. The Giants got lucky. Aubrey missed a 50-yard field goal. And they had a chance, as I said earlier, with the deep ball to Wan'Dale Robinson, who had a chance. And as I said, Malik Hooker, the Cowboys safety, he whiffed on it. It was kind of like that Stephon Diggs play against the Saints in a way. Not exactly, once again, but where like the safety whiffs on it and the receiver just catches it and could run. Now, Wan'Dale, I think, would have fell on the ground, so he probably wouldn't have scored. But if he caught that ball, the Giants would have had a real chance to win this game. So, unfortunately, it hits his fingertips and falls incomplete. A couple plays later, they try a deep ball to Hyatt. It gets intercepted. It was a great catch by, what was this kid's name? It was the guy from Penn State. I forget his name now. I remember liking this guy in college, too. Amani Oruwariye. He might have been a Giant, honestly. Oh, shit, he was a Giant. Yeah, they signed him last March of 2023. The Giants signed Amani Oruwariye. So yeah, former Giant, ends the game. Look at that. So as I wrote on the screen here, if you're listening to the podcast version, you won't see this, but I wrote down the big picture stuff. The next 4 games: at Seattle, home versus Cincinnati, home versus Philly, at Pittsburgh. I like Seattle a lot this year. They haven't had like a great win yet. They've beaten some fraudulent teams. They got the Dolphins without Tua last week. That was a pretty easy win for them. Facing Cincinnati, who they play the Panthers this week. I'm expecting them to win that game. And they'll be looking for 2 in a row against the Giants. Philly, who we never beat. Philly at that point should have their receivers back. Philly has a bye next week, so they'll be healthier, I'm assuming. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown are probably missing again this week, so they'll get healthy against us, unfortunately. And then at Pittsburgh in week number 8. And Pittsburgh, their defense is just probably the best in football right now. They're up there. Defensive line's been crazy. That'll be a great test for this offensive line. And Justin Fields is playing turnover-free football. Najee Harris is running the ball okay. So Pittsburgh's a tough matchup right now. Definitely concerned about that one as well, especially at Pittsburgh, primetime game. So, yeah, it's not looking good. You know, the Giants kind of had to win this game to have any serious shot of making the playoffs, and looks like another lost season possibly. So it is what it is. Just sucks. But at least they came out and gave us a game today where we can somewhat be proud of them. Scoring only field goals is pretty laughable in today's NFL. I mean, scoring's been down this year, but you get it. But at least they didn't lose 40-0, or what was the other score? 49-17 or some shit. Like, at least it wasn't that bad. But this was such a winnable game. If one of those Daniel Jones deep balls is caught, they might have scored a touchdown. If one of those drops doesn't happen, especially that Wan'Dale one on 3rd down, like if he catches that, they're probably like near the 50 and have a real chance to go get a touchdown and win the game. Didn't happen. And they shot themselves in the foot. If there wasn't that horrible blown coverage on CeeDee Lamb, there's a chance they also win the game. So it's like those 3 plays right there. It's like those are big. And missing Slayton on the overthrow on the free play, can't have that either. I don't know what's up with Jones's deep ball. As I said earlier, he's never had the best deep ball, but this is like much worse than it even was before. So whatever's going on, I hope they fix it. They'll have 10 days to get things right. Go to Seattle, try to get a W against a pretty good team in my opinion. So we'll see if they can do it. But yeah, next Giants video will be the Seahawks preview. I'll release that next week, probably next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, something like that. So a little bit of a break from me, but I'll be back with some NFL reactions on probably Tuesday night, recapping the Week 4. So yeah, just another shitty loss to the Cowboys that probably shouldn't have happened this time. But I feel like if you've watched the Giants enough in prime time, you know how it goes. So it's like we shouldn't be shocked, but this game was a real kick in the nuts, as I said on Twitter. I might have said balls, but same thing. But unfortunate, we'll sit here again in mid-October and be like, hey, who's going to be the first quarterback we can take off the board? And it's going to be one of those discussions once again. So we'll see how the rest of this year goes. Daniel Jones probably won't get benched. I don't see that happening. He's actually been playing pretty okay lately. So I'm sure he'll be the quarterback in Week 5. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. So leave in the comments, how'd you feel about this game? How disappointed are you? Did you expect to win this game? Any thoughts? Stuff like that. But yeah, it's getting late. It's 12:20 a.m. I took off work, thank God, but still, it's getting late. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys next time.